Hello, my name is Professor John Benjamin, and this is West Virginia Wesleyan College, and this is web design. And today we'll be talking about the web design process. So there are 6 steps in the web design process, and we're going to be talking today about the first 3 steps. All right. So the website development planning process. So why do we plan? And first of all, if you want to think about the word design, so this is called web design. And the word design means to plan. It comes from the Latin designare, which literally means to draw out a plan. If you're going to create a building, if you're going to create a website, if you're interior design or build a car, everything needs a plan. You don't just sort of stumble into any of these activities. For them to be successful, I mean, you certainly can. I'm certain there are web designers that just sort of just fumble their way in. But in order to be successful, and that's the key here, successful, you need to have a plan. And all different professions have their own type of plan, but most of them are very similar. They have very similar steps, and you'll see that the web design plan is much like any other graphic design or interior design or architectural design plans. Everyone's going to have their own little sort of version of a plan that looks similar to this. So your plan helps you to avoid a lot of mistakes. If you just stumble into things, then you maybe have to go back to square one because you didn't have a plan. It's cost effective. Again, it just saves you time. Establish the purpose. Why are you making this website? Why is this important? And who are you trying to talk to? You might think this website's cool, but it's not for you. It's for a particular audience. It's for other people. And then after we develop that, we decide, well, what's going to go in it? And then how is it going to be structured? Then we develop a navigation bar, fairly simple. And then you get to the visual design, because it's the content and the purpose and the audience that defines how it's going to look. You just don't make it look how you want to. You make it look based on what its needs are, what it needs to be, what it needs to do. And then lastly, you got to set up a plan for, okay, it's done. When are we going to publish it? How are we going to go about that? And how are we going to maintain it? Because every website has to be maintained. You just don't make it and then just sort of let it go. The content gets outdated, for one thing. All right, step 1, define the website's purpose and audience. What are the goals of the website? And so the goals are the results that you want your website to accomplish in a certain time frame. These might include like sales, increased number of visitors, social media interactions. It might be to inform the public about a really important topic. It might be to sell a product. There's a host of variety of things. Now your objectives are how you're going to accomplish those goals. So what is the website going to do so that those goals are accomplished. And then we're going to develop a target audience profile. So even though you want everybody to visit your website, there is going to be a specific group of people that are going to visit your website, and they're going to have certain expectations for your website. I like to think of, in graphic design, we use the word affordances. And so like a coffee cup affords what how the user is going to interact with it. And the affordances on a coffee cup are, well, it's a vessel, so something goes in it, and it has a handle, and so you probably grab it with your hand. And so websites do the same thing. How they're designed affords how you're going to interact with it, but also kind of what are your expectations going into it. And different groups have different expectations. So it's important to develop this profile. And then once you have all of that established, then you kind of summarize all of your goals, objectives, and who your target audience is in a really concise purpose statement. And what this is, it's kind of like that anchor that holds it all together. Typically in website design, you're working in a team. And that web statement, you can just keep referencing it, almost like a mantra. All these choices, these buttons, these colors, this photograph, do they fit? Do they align with that purpose statement? So typically a website will have a primary goal, which is kind of a larger overarching goal, and then supporting secondary goals. And so primary goals, again, are pretty big in general: increase sales, or product of a service, educate or inform an audience about a certain topic or company profile. Secondary goals could be things that support that, like establish the company's credibility, educate and inform an audience about a particular topic, encourage users to return by providing current topical information on articles or blog posts, things like that. So you can see how that works. The secondary goals support the primary ones. And then, like I mentioned before, your objectives are those methods that you use to accomplish those goals. They could be offering a 20% discount today if you click here, or things along that line. Yeah. So here we have this fictitious company, Fit for You, that sells fitness projects, or fitness equipment, pardon me. And so the goals are to increase sales of fitness products and services. Pretty straightforward. And a lot of this you might say is, well, of course, this is obvious. But all of this stuff really, again, needs to be documented. And like I said, if you're working in a team, so that everybody on the team can constantly go back to this document and make sure that all the things that we're doing fit in with these goals. They might seem general, but they are specific if you think that there's a lot of other options that we could have. So this is specific for Fit for You, increase sales of fitness products and services. That's what the whole point of the website is for. So the objectives, how are we going to accomplish those goals? Develop an attractive and informative RWD website that promotes awareness of the company. So that's really important. Again, it seems really overgeneralized, but it's not. You want to talk about the company and increase awareness about the company and its motivations, why we're passionate about fitness, things like that. Provide authoritative information and advice at the website to establish credibility. This is really key. You're not just going to sort of have opinions and hearsay. It has to be authoritative and credible information. And you're a web user, or if you are, you know that we just sort of intuit that. We don't have to be experts to know just by reading a certain type of language that it's not that credible. Include links to articles with quick tips to educate users about the importance of being fit and healthy. So this is important too. Your website doesn't have to do everything. You're selling a particular set of products, and so there's other experts about health and types of fitness and why it's good for you and maybe the community at large. And so you can stay in your lane and link out to those. And then those will give you credibility, because if another site supports your ideas, then that gives you more credibility. Employ social media tools to inform and engage. You have to be engaged with your audience. You have to kind of always touch base. Like, you got to call your friends. You got to keep in touch. Just something we do as humans. You can't just, again, set up the website and just let it be. It's not going to just do the work itself. And then offer online tools to encourage website visitors to increase their fitness levels. And this is really, we're talking about this fifth objective, in all websites, is what is on your site that's going to encourage people to come back. You want to create like a relationship. Okay, and then the call to action. This is critical. Every website, pretty much, should have a CTA. And so this is something that causes an immediate response from the user. So a passive interaction with a website is you just kind of go and you just kind of read it, and that's a passive. And the likelihood that that experience is going to go into the long-term memory of that person is pretty low. I can't remember, it's something like 20%. Any kind of active interaction where we actually have to do something, type or click, or have that interaction, that is, as I think, don't know the specific numbers, but it's something like a 50 or 60% chance of going into long-term memory, because it's entered through two channels. You've read, you've taken some passive, but then there's other parts of your brain that you've used to interact with this, and so that increases the connection with that website. And so other types of CTAs are, let's see, purchasing a product, following the company's social media account. You can click on that, make a donation, sharing or commenting on an article, requesting an appointment, signing up for an account, registering for an event or a program. So then we have to establish the target audience. So this is, again, we want everybody to come to the website, but you need to kind of get to know this one type of person or one group of people that you think are going to most likely come to this. And then you're going to cater to them. You're going to facilitate your website to meet their expectations. So for instance, different websites have different looks and different ways we interact with them. A bank versus a site about football or buying football tickets. And each site definitely fits in with the expectations of a particular audience. Again, even if you're not a sports fan, there's a different look to a baseball website than a football website. And so kind of knowing what your audience expectations are, like the type of person they are, is going to help you to create those affordances to help them to facilitate the experience. So we want to find out the demographic and the psychographic characteristics. Both demographic includes gender, age group, education level, income, location, and other characteristics that define who your website visitors are. Psychographic is a little more vague, like what social groups might they be affiliated to, lifestyle choices, purchasing preferences, and political affiliation. So all of this paints a picture of the type of person, what they expect from your website, and how they expect to interact with your website. And so this is just really, really basic stuff. If your audience is primarily rural and they have poor internet connection or cell service, that's going to really determine a lot about how your website is going to look and how you're going to create it. Versus is it primarily people in an office environment with a desktop that's connected to the Ethernet. So just those two pieces of demographics are really are quite a lot different. So creating this demographic is really important, or creating this demographic, this target audience profile. And so how do you do this? The first step is you just ask questions. And then the next step is you actually collect some data. So there's plenty of organizations, associations, and government organizations that have and collect this data. A lot of it's you have to pay for, and a lot of it's for free and open to the public. You just have to Google it. So in this case, for Fit for You, you would just simply Google American home fitness demographics, and you would get a lot of results. You have to vet the different websites, make sure they're credible, and collect that data. And then, of course, but before you even get there, then you just ask these questions. So what is the age range that is likely to be the audience members? You're going to collect more data about that and get specific, but you just want to ask that question first, and from your team. Or what's their gender, educational background, marital status. Again, if you're selling Rolexes, that's just going to be a sort of a level of sophistication for a particular group. Even if you're a poor person, you're just interested in Rolexes, you'll still have the same expectations of the finer things, if you will. What is the typical career income level? How do they access the website that's very important. What social media profiles do they typically use? Again, you're not going to put a Pinterest on a legal website, so you need to establish those things. Like, oh, we put all the social media up there. No, there's very specific based on your target audience. Again, one of the key elements in design, if you remember from the last PowerPoint, is simplification and or deletion. So you don't want to have anything on here that isn't specifically for your audience. What kinds of group affiliations and lifestyle choices do they have? What are their interests? Are you someone that is a sports enthusiast, or are you more likely to be in a book club? And what is their primary reason for accessing the website? So here is a target audience profile for Fit for You. And so is in between 20 and 45 years old. That doesn't mean that there isn't going to be younger and older people. This is just your primary group, your bell curve, if you will, that you're going to target towards. If you spent your whole time targeting towards people who are 60, that's only a small part of your demographic, so that wouldn't be that smart. 60% likely to be female, 40% male, minimum of 2 years college, annual income, and lives primarily in a suburban area, social media frequently, primarily with a smartphone, very important. Single or newly married without kids. So this is interesting too. Is your bar a singles bar, or is it a family restaurant? So different demographic. After you create your target audience profile, then you create a needs assessment. So you determine what are the needs and expectations of this audience. What are their wants? What do they expect from it? And so here for Fit for You, you're just going to answer these three questions for your website, and here is the answers for Fit for You. So what are their behaviors? They frequent websites that include current content, articles, and product tips. Pretty vague, but also, again, very important. Seek advice on how to make fitness-conscious choices. That's really important, so you're going to include that in your website content. Shares articles and products with others in social media, so you're going to have those social media links. With particular social media tools. Requirements. Access the web using multiple device types. Okay, so that means you've got to have RWD. People are going to access it on their desktops and on their mobile device. They want an easy-to-use site navigation. It seems obvious, but again, maybe for certain circumstances, that's not an issue for people. Like maybe you're a business-to-business purchasing supplies for your industry, and then maybe easy site navigation isn't really an issue for you. Other ways to find out the products that you need. What are the expectations? Attractive, professional-looking website containing credible content. It seems obvious, but that really needs to be written down. Uses UI and UX, user experience and user interface design standards and RWD principles. Social media integration to build community and enable content sharing. Again, all of these things seem like they're obvious, but you need to write down the specific ones that are important for your particular site. So then the website purpose statement. And this, in my opinion, and in my experience, is usually just a really brief 2 to 3 sentences that just kind of summarizes the whole reason for doing this website. So here's the one for Fit for You, and it's got quite a lot, but in my opinion, you already established all of these points about your goals and objectives. You've got that longer bit written down and up a little higher in your process document. So I like this to be just a really consolidated, again, 2 to 3 sentences, just really summarizing up the main points of what you're doing. And then that's every action that you do, every button you create, and every CGI script and every photograph. You just kind of keep checking back and making sure everything aligns up with that purpose statement. Okay, so now you know all this information. You're ready to go. Before you start designing or collecting photographs, what's the general content that you're going to put on there? You're going to have text. Yeah. You're going to have images. Audio. Maybe, maybe not. Video. Maybe, maybe not. Animations. There's all these choices. What are kind of the main things that are going to be on this website? Is it going to be text heavy or image heavy? Not just is it going to have text and images, that kind of thing. So we want to determine the home page, subsidiary pages, and landing pages. And these are all different. So the home page is very important. It has to establish the who, what, why, and where. So who, that's the company name, the text, the logo, the tagline, copyright information. That's really cool. That has to be easily found right away, immediately. We don't want to be somewhere and not know, who this place is. So that's really, the who is critical. That's first. What? That's a summary of text or images that sort of tell the audience of the videos what's the content. And this is usually your call to action is part of the what too. So what are you, and what am I doing here? The why. This is a reason why visitors should interact with your website. So this is where somewhere on the home page you're encouraging exploration. Like check this out, or click on this button and find out more. And then where, an easily identifiable navigation system. So one that's got to be easy to find. It also needs to be easy to find out the more information. I mean, if it looks like a big mess, I'm not going to, even if I'm curious, I'm probably not going to I'm not going to dig deeper. Search features are really critical. For our projects, they're going to be small projects, so search feature isn't really, I'm not going to require it. But for any other larger website, a search feature is really critical. And then you have to establish that visual identity. And that's the who again. That's your brand. So here we have Hallmark, and it's doing all these things delightfully right away. It says Hallmark. In the upper left-hand corner, we see the logo. We read left to right, top to bottom, so that's typically a good place for the logo. You can put it on the other side as well. But if you put it on the other side, well, when you shrink things down to a phone, it's a good practice to keep it up on the left. Call to action. New personalized ornaments are here, very large in a big box. Shop now. So there's your CTA. Scroll. You can scroll for more information, and then it gives you a photograph of new products. So this does all. It answers all the who, what, why, and where. Subsidiary pages. Websites often include multiple subsidiary or underlying pages. These also have to have some of the same elements as the home page. So to create consistency and continuity. So Hallmark does a really great job. Unlike a lot of sites, its nav bar is identical. It's the same on every page, so that just clarifies any confusion. And this is probably because a lot of Hallmark's audience may be a little older, maybe not be that web savvy. So again, why would there be this shift from a nav that looks a certain way on the home page and then it changes? So keep it nice and simple. Their footer is typically always the same too, and this is for most websites, but not all. Landing pages. Landing pages are different than subpages or home pages because they can be exist all off on their own. They don't have to be connected to by the main navigation. A landing page primary purpose is to connect visitors with a link, like say in social media or an email that you get about a product, or it could be a QR code on a poster or an ad. And it's a very specific product or event, and then that user comes to that specific landing page. And that way, even if it's not part of the regular website, we can collect a lot of data about how the visitors got there. And it might be like a limited time offer, so we don't make a whole web page. We just kind of make this specific separate landing page that, yeah, we can gauge the effectiveness of the marketing. So here is the website structure plan for Fit for You. Homepage with a slideshow layout. Promotional landing pages that correspond to planned marketing campaigns. About us, customer testimonials, product pages, and a contact us. So value-added content. This is always something that's going to be constantly in the back of your mind. Remember, simplification, deletion. There should be nothing on the website that doesn't add substantially to it. A website has to be very succinct, so there's no room for vague or unnecessary information. It all has to be relevant. That's what we want. We react differently, we interact differently with websites than we do with other types of content, let's say magazines or books or billboards or anything else. So it has to be relevant. It's got to be succinct. It's got to be informative. Again, not just like opinion, hearsay. It's got to be timely. It's got to be up to date. And we intuit this. We know if something's old information, just kind of the way it's written. It has to be accurate. It has to be high quality and usable. All these things, they kind of interweave, but it just has to be really good, succinct, timely, current content that brings value to the customer. And yeah, value. So in general, we want to create content prepared specifically for the web. And a lot of times, all the time, you've got to repurpose stuff. So you ask your client, like, well, we want to put, this history of the company right on the homepage, and it's 10 pages long, and it's all important. And so that's not going to work on the web. So you've got to fight with them a little bit. You can put like a little paragraph that says, hey, the company started by so-and-so in 1908, and it's been in the family for 100 years. And then you have a link, and the link can go to another page that has more information. But even then, if you're going to have a history, don't have a long scrolling page. Make an infographic, like a timeline, something visual that breaks down or chunks the information. So there's a lot of repurposing of content that is suitable for other media and making it suitable for the web. So the text, 4 really important points. Again, like I can't say it enough, chunk text for scannability. When we go to a website, we just scan it really quickly to find out exactly that thing that we're there to do. So that means headings that are really clear. Icons help. Breaking it up so we can quickly find out what we want. Well, I don't want to read through the whole website just to find one little element, one headphone jack that I'm looking for. Place explanatory information on linked pages. Like I said with that history, if you've got a lot of content, then we'll just link to it, but don't put it on the main pages. Use your active voice, active verbs, and a friendly tone. So that's really important as far as keeping us engaged. And remove transitional words and phrases like stated previously or similarly. Remember, everything has to be succinct. Every word has to count. So yeah, nothing too vague. Images can familiarize the unknown. So remember, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So immediately, instantaneously, in a fraction of a second, the photographs of the images are going to tell us a lot about the website. Not very specific information, but quickly, instantly, because it takes time to read. So those choices that you make, those illustrations, those photographs are really important, how you choose those. Again, using diagrams if you can, and photographs to sort of remove some of the text a lot of times. Anytime you can remove text and explain it visually, you're going to be better off. So here is a good example with Jeep. Again, they've got a call to action. They've got photography that isn't just, it's very intentional. We've got 2 images of Jeeps in context. Like, look, you can drive your Jeep on the beach. You know, you can take it over this rugged mountaintop. It's not just a picture of a Jeep at random in traffic. It's why am I buying a Jeep? So I can drive it to these exotic places. So very intentional photography choices. And if you'll notice too, these photographs are taken with the idea to use for the website. They have space for type and a nice asymmetrical balance there. Audio and video. Audio, there's really only very specific reasons to use audio. But you want to think about that. Again, if it's a music website, that's going to be really critical. If it's a website to buy a car, there really shouldn't be any audio there. It can be very distracting. Video is really important, though. You really want to know who your audience is. Are they, more likely to read or more likely to watch a video? Just for me, for instance, if I want to, fix something or repair something, I'm more likely to find a website that's got bullets and pictures step by step than actually to watch a video. So there's one example. And how are you going to incorporate interactivity? So this is important. That interaction is what really helps connect the visitor or the user to your site. So interactivity is really important. And multimedia just really adds a lot of, it livens it up. Here's some great interactive elements, and you don't have to be an advanced web developer to add these. There's plenty of things like Doodle that have polls and quizzes that you can just embed into your website by just creating an. So dynamically generated content, that's where there's just like CGI scripting in databases where content is updated without you having to interact. It's just sort of usually by time of day or a visitor request, things like that. So here's a sample plan for value-added content. So they're going to make sure they have the company logo, photographs of products, video clips of customer testimonials and employee comments, current news pages, and fitness tips and tricks. So here's a general kind of approach to it, and then you'll get more specific as you go. All right, and so the last step for today, remember there's 6 steps in the design process, but this is the last one we're going to talk about, is the website's structure. So we need to visualize the organization of the pages. So we've decided on all the pages that we need. We haven't got their specific content, but we've determined their general content. And we want to organize them by level of detail. So the home page is the most vague. Then a second set of pages, your sub-pages, are going to be more specific. And then they'll have a string of pages with even more and more specific information. And this also, by creating this, will help find any dead-end pages. And then we can rearrange pages to revise linking relationships. And we do this by creating a sitemap. And here's an example of a sitemap. Again, you have your home page, you have your detailed subpages that have more information, and then they string down to more information, and they cross-link. And then typically you're like, well, hey, wait, nothing linked. Here's a page that we included. We think it's important, but we hadn't included in the sitemap. So we discover these dead-end pages with our sitemap. There's really 2 different types of website structures. There's linear and hierarchical. Linear can be take many different forms, but typically what we're talking about is just a scrolling website. The information just kind of goes down, find out more information. But you can also have one that you click and then it kind of just keeps going forward in a path. That's this narrowdesign.com works in that way. And the scrolling structure is more typical. Hierarchical structure is, again, probably your more standard website, although thanks to phones, scrolling websites are becoming much, much more prevalent. But typically we'll have a hierarchical structure. And so this is a typical hierarchical structure. Homepage, different categories, and then subcategories, and then cross-linking between. Here's the Fit for You website structure. So homepage, vague, call to action, establishing who, what, where, and when. And then we have the where, products, about us, customer testimonials, articles, and contact us. And then you can see more detailed information as we go down. All right, that's all I have for today. And I hope to see you next time for steps 4 through 6.